Welcome to another episode of Mallier Notes Podcast. My name is William Mallier, and I'm glad to have you here for another conversation, another moment to think about what is happening in the world, what are the big transformations, what are the big studies that are showing some interesting movements that can affect our careers, our professional and personal development, and of course, the way we are leading our teams and managing our business. Today, we have four topics to discuss how the shortcut how outsourcing the problems, the struggles to a machine, to AI, to someone can actually be a risk to your brain and your thinking process because the struggles, they always teach us something and they are quite important for our brains as well. Are you ready for the first topic? If you cannot think without AI, without a machine supporting your thinking process, is your brain really working? That's an interesting question that a professor from MIT, Eric So, is asking right now and giving this problem, this moment in humanity, a term. He's calling it AI gravity. Look how interesting this study is developing right now. Basically, he's defining that AI gravity is the constant pressure to outsource more of our thinking to AI in the name of efficiency. So basically, people are more and more giving away the struggles, the thinking process, what they need to put their brain to work to AI. And we are not even doing the smallest thing, like the short ones that could require our neurons to work. I will give you this example. You get this email and you need to respond. It's not that big. You don't need to organize a lot of documentation to reply to that email. It's just a simple answer. Still, you bring all the text, you put that in your approved AI tool, hopefully, in your company, and you use AI just to provide a good answer because you want to polish the grammar, you want to polish and make sure that it sounds perfect. But this is also a problem. The small 30 seconds, let's say like that you are going to spend replying to that email, thinking about the answer, and using your own words and your own thinking here to reply, it's what builds your identity. And this thinking process, even though it's very small, it's just an example, it's important to your brain to connect all the neurons related to that topic so you can actually know what you're doing and what you did. It's interesting because in the study, he's pointing to three different forces that are the factors pushing this behavior. The force number one in the study is that AI keeps getting better. And that is, it creates a natural instinct that people are going to prefer. Actually, it's natural that people want to save mental energy. And this is not the biggest problem because saving energy to put your brain, your thinking something else more important, that is actually good. When you are able to remove some of the friction in activities that are not like the core of what you do and you can put the energy, the thinking in something else, this is actually something that you should celebrate. You're removing your mental energy for something that is not that important for you and for your work, and you're putting that in the right things. The problem is people are removing the friction here, and instead of putting more energy on the important or the core things for their work, their jobs, their lives, they are also trying to remove the friction here and save more time. And the friction, the struggle, the problems in your thinking process, the moment that you struggle with a problem, like sometimes you have something to solve, you cannot even think how to solve that, you go outside for a walk and suddenly you discover a way to solve that. This process of connecting ideas or thinkings to solve a problem, it's what makes your brain keeps evolving. Because as another muscle in your body, if you don't exercise that in a good way, your brain is going to struggle in the future. And the more you give away the opportunities to go through those friction moments, the more you have a concern, or you should be concerned about how your brain is going to keep evolving, keep connecting the right neurons, making the right connections to remind you about important things, and of course, making you more intelligent. But I mentioned three forces, right? AI getting better is one of them. The number two is the social pressure. Everyone around you seems they are using AI, they're making something big, right? Actually, if you open social media and start to scrolling or something like LinkedIn, it seems that suddenly everyone except you is building something so big with AI, right? They are building apps, they are building systems, they are making a lot of money. Apparently, this is what is happening around you, right? Well, as any other success metric, you are just seeing the ones who are celebrating and showing the good sides of their works with AI, what they are doing. You're not seeing all the struggle they are also facing as you. So you feel the pressure that you should also be doing something big, something great with AI. And you start using AI for everything, even for those very simple things. And the third force that is it's getting harder to tell when someone is using AI or not. You get this email, as I mentioned before, and it's so well written. So you start thinking, okay, this guy used AI, so I maybe should also use AI to keep the same standard. And then people start using AI so much that a whole email thread is not written by anyone else in the company. And if they go to the coffee machine, maybe they can just talk about like the headline of it and summarize it in some bullets, but they don't know the details because they were not using their brains to think about it before answer anything. And this is not an opinion. This is coming also, as I mentioned, this is the MIT study. This is coming from some interesting research, and it's not the only one. We have another study that it was quite famous recently that was from MIT Media Lab. And they basically put a lot of people together to write texts, write some essays on some topics. Explaining the study, they basically put people together. Some of them they are going to use ChatGPT, and some of them they should write the text by themselves. Basically, among those who use ChatGPT, 83% were not able to explain the text that they wrote. It's simple to understand. And Eric So, he has a line on that. He said, like, it passed from the screen straight to the homework without ever entering their brains. Basically, the person involved on the topic, they were just the two, just the mechanism, just the connection between the requirements and the output here. And that is something that we should get concerned when we look to this number. And it made us think how much we are outsourcing of our thinking or our brains to a machine. Because people are concerned that AI can replace their in their jobs, in their work. But in the end, they are the ones responsible for giving away all the things that they are quite unique to a machine. Like the way they think, the way they use their brains to solve a problem, they're just giving away the struggles, giving away what made us so competent in their jobs. But of course, they study from MIT. They are not just giving problems. They are also trying to give some suggestions on how we can improve on that. And basically, he's providing us or suggesting us 4 ways to at least be more cautious with this whole discussion around how much we should use AI, where we should use that when it comes to we as people. We are as thinkers in this case. First one, he mentions the obvious, and it's basically what I'm trying to say here in the whole video. Value the struggle. Value that sometimes you have a problem in front of you and you need to struggle. You need to have some issues. You need to put your brain to work so you have the chance to evolve in the end of this exercise. You have a problem at work, you struggle for a few days, you learn a lot from that. That's how you are going to jump to the next level with your brains, because Just as another muscle that you go to the gym and you exercise and the muscle gets stronger, your brain gets stronger in the same way. You should exercise, you should use it. The second one, it's value who you are without AI. You have a lot of qualities that are unique that AI will not replace. The way you explain a topic to someone, the way you connect the dots, the way you connect people, value those impressive skills that make you are without artificial intelligence. The third one is to reinvest your time or the time you saved using AI to learn something new. And that's interesting. I mentioned this in the beginning of the topic, right? You start using AI and you save time, but instead of using the time you saved in something that is important, you are trying to save time somewhere else. And then you're spending your whole energy just trying to save time, and you're not using the time you save at all. And that's a concern. And finally, the fourth one, make AI your coach. So instead of having this dumb robot that is just saying yes to everything you say, try to organize that in a way. I have a good article that I wrote about that with prompts, with configurations that you can make for making this AI tool, this impressive tool have in front of you, to don't agree with you on everything, to challenge you to get better, to find problems on what you are trying to build, to challenge your solutions, to challenge your knowledge, not to just agree with you. Otherwise, your ego is getting stronger instead of your brain. Great. And with that, we have a great connection to the second topic, where we are going to talk about something that I know that many people, especially starting their careers, get concerned: being a specialist or being a generalist. Should you become a specialist or should you become a generalist? Very important question, right? Many people start in their careers, they get a lot of struggles trying to answer these questions. And the more you move in your career, the more you start getting some progress, this question comes back to you. Like there's a point in your career that you feel that you need to decide if you're going to become like a manager or if you're going to become a technical specialist, if you're going to have, people responsibilities or not. And this question come back again and again. So the data that we try to get from like what is the best option will always make us also think in different perspectives here, because what success actually means. I mean, for some people it can be just the money, just the salary. For some others, it's the quality time they get from what they work on. So it's of course a connection of many different things. So what I'm trying to organize here is connecting different studies to bring you some reflections and some advice on this. First, we have a study from 2016 from Harvard Business Review who tried to look for specific industries and try to answer what is the best option depending on what you decide, becoming a specialist or a generalist, looking specifically for job offers and salary. And in 2016, that was a very simple conclusion. Being a generalist is going to give you better and more job offers, and also over time, your salary is going to be better compared to a specialist one who are going down and deep into one specific area. But there's one problem in this data here. It's comparing a lot of people together and not considering like the best ones and the worst one in their areas. Because of course, the better you become in something very specifically, the more and the better is going to be the progress of your career in that area. And as a normal consequence, a natural consequence, you're going to get more money from that. So the study was quite narrow. They had the conclusion that was quite obvious, but it lost some points that are important to be discussed. And one of them, it's not generic. I'm not trying to be nice saying this, but it's a very important question: who you are and what you like to do. Because this is also going to make us come back now to 2026, where we have AI changing so much in our work relations and how we plan our careers, right? And look how interesting. We have a new study from PwC now in June 2026, where they did a big analysis across the road, more than 1 billion job ads and connecting many different industries and companies, trying to answer also this question. I mean, they answer a lot of questions, but it was one of them as well. Like, who is getting more job offers and what these 1 billion job ads are asking from the candidates. And basically what they see is that AI is, of course, making a lot of things disappear. One good example are the things that we can automate, the things that are repetitive, the things that a robot can just learn about the workflow and make it work. But the more down and deep you get in something, the more specific and the more you expect that as a core thing from your business, the less chance AI have to replace that. Why? Because they are connected to the core of the business somehow. So, of course, it gets connected back to the specialist because the more specialist, the better you are on doing something, the more you build already with you some kind of knowledge that is not so easy to replace. What is here in your brain on the things that you get so good over time? It's something that make you unique. So what they see in this data from all those job ads is that new tasks that are AI exposed, of course, they are being replaced, as I said. But the popular advice from the old study, like be a generalist because AI will handle the rest, it's not fitting anymore because companies are looking for people who are really good on some specific topics. One good example is software development. We have a lot of layoffs being announced where we see that people from many software development companies, tech companies, they are being laid off. And the narrative from the companies is because AI is improving the efficiency, is taking over some parts of software development in the companies. But the job ads keep looking for great engineers who are very specifically good on some specific technologies. So the more expertise you have on some specific topic, the more valued you are being right now. And this does not mean that specialists now are more important than generalists, because the same research is showing that people who are able to connect the dots in so many different topics at the same time and bring that with value to the business, but are good on that. So not doing that for doing, just for being a generalist, but they are good on that. A good example we even mentioned are project and program managers who are able to connect like project needs with product development and then connect that with so many different business needs, risk management, negotiation, all those things together in one person. They are also being valued. And that's why I mentioned that the advice, who you are and what you are good at, is not a generic one. It's actually a very important one right now in 2026. With AI replacing the boring, the repetitive tasks, the question on what you are unique, it's very important. Because in the end, you build your career on something, of course, that you are good at, that you like to do, and the market is going to pay some money for that, right? And of course, everyone wants a to get a better salary, want to progress in their careers. So it doesn't matter right now if you are a specialist or a generalist. It's important to be good on what you do. If you are a generalist, you cannot just be the one who knows a little bit here and there. You need to be really great on all those things that you hold together. Are you a program or a project manager? Great. Then probably you have a more generalist profile, but still you have some areas that you are better on managing specifically projects, right? Let's say you build specifically construction projects, for example. If you are super good on that, you have a lot of things that you are more generalist, but you still have one that you are more focused on that are managing projects for the construction business. If you just move to the technology or software development business, you still probably can connect the dots and run good projects, but you are going to miss a lot of the context from the industry, from the business, from the product. And that's why you need to understand, even being a generalist, you still need to understand how you are going to organize your knowledge around that area to understand where you are a good generalist and where you are not going to be a good generalist. And the same go for the specialist. You want to get super down in a specific knowledge technology, like you are a developer, you are great in Python, and you are great specifically on that, and you get better on that. You need to still understand, even being a specialist here, all the dots that are around that topic, like how to build a software, how to talk with other developers, how to uh, not specifically negotiate from a business perspective, but negotiate from a product perspective so the decisions can be taken in the right way. So even if you are a generalist, you need to understand a bit where you can also be a specialist and make that work in the world you live on or the industry you are working on. So the question to you is, what are you good at? And what is the area that no one, even AI, can replace you right now? Because if you are able to answer that question, this is the area, this is the place where you should be putting all your energy right now and becoming even better on that. Great. And with that, we are ready to connect and move on to the next topic. And we are going to talk on something that is very relevant for managers and people who can influence on their organization decisions. We are going to talk about how your company is managing complaints. The complaint you are trying to hide in your business can be your cheapest innovation lab. Yes, that's right. Most organizations, they treat customers' complaints as something that they should solve as soon as possible, make the customer happy again, and move on. Done, right? And they finish the line here. The problem is, maybe you are missing a great opportunity to improve your business and move to a next level of satisfaction for the customers in general, just from that complaint. That's the idea from a study published now and quite recently in the spring edition from MIT Sloan Management Review, where they bring the case of Vaud University Hospital in Switzerland, where basically they treat every single patient complaint as a warning for their system and something that should work on almost as an R&D department, something that they should research, they should investigate, and they should try to focus in a way that this will never happen again. So they treat the complaint really as almost as a requirement, something that they should do some deep investigation and learn the lessons from that complaint. So not only that patient, that customer will be happy again and make business again with the company, but also how we can avoid that will never happen again to anyone who is doing business with us. It's interesting because this can be a big learning from all kind of business in different industries. The study is showing, this is basically a line from there, when complaints are treated as data, not disruptions, organizations can respond more quickly, learn more, and improve their services. I think the key word here is learning. When you have a complaint in your business, it can be the way the customer is being treated, it can be something in the product, in the service, or whatever. When you have a complaint, you have an opportunity to understand what part of your business didn't work as expected. Think that your company is making cars and you have complaints that the software of the car is not working as expected. Then you have a big opportunity to bring this back to the teams and reflect how the software can be the best as possible for the future customers. So we have this complaint here, how we can make sure that not only this part is solved, but the whole chain connected to that is going to improve in a way that we are not even get the chance to get something similar to that complaint again. This is the kind of thinking that exercise the learning inside your company in an impressive way. Because what the study is showing is that we have the instinct to protect the image of the company first. And this is quite obvious, I believe, from a management perspective, right? The problem is what happened after that. You solved the problem. The customer maybe is happy again. They keep doing business. They keep using your product and your service. But if you end the line here, what is going to happen later? What is the message that you are going to share internally from your teams? That complaints are okay. I mean, not okay, but it happened. You solve them and you move on. You never reflect about them. But in the other way around, looking this to this hospital as an example, they bring the complaint and they do the same process they will be doing when they build a new service. They try to look like to the requirements, what didn't work, what is the problem, what is exactly was the concern, how we can make something different. And they treat that, as I mentioned, as an innovation lab. And of course, this model is not only for hospitals, it can work in any kind of industry and companies. The question to you is, if you are in a management position, if you're a leader who can influence how the teams and the company is going to react to complaints in general, how can you change the way you are discussing that? And instead of seeing this as a big, big problem to be avoided and cut it as soon as it happens, how you can bring that as an opportunity to learn? And taking the learn word here in perspective, how you can connect that in the whole chain of your company. So you're not only in the team that created this kind of problem or this kind of situation, but you are spreading the knowledge across the organization, and you have this feeling of treating issues, treating mistakes, treating all those opportunities as really a moment for the company to learn and do things even better, better from a product perspective, better from a process perspective, and of course, to make even more customers happy in the end. Great. And with that, we just talk about mistakes. So the connection for the next topic, it's quite perfect because now we are going to talk about who is actually responsible when AI it's also part of a problem that was created. When humans and machines decide together, whose fault is when things goes wrong? That is an interesting question, right? And to reflect on that, I want to invite you to come with me to the morning of 2018 when a self driving Uber car hit and killed a person in Arizona, USA. That was something big, of course, big situation. And the question with no easy answer in this case is who was responsible for that? I mean, should we blame the safety driver who was there in the car? Should we blame the algorithm and therefore the responsible is the software developer who built that or the team who built that? Is the engineer or the architect behind that? Is the leadership team who are supposed to be responsible for the feature and the product they launched? I mean, who is responsible in this case? Because something happened and that was shared between humans and machines. And we know that more and more things are going to happen in this direction, right? So the question here is how to treat those kind of situations. Trying to reflect and bring some light on this topic, we have an interesting research which was published in the MIT Sloan Management Review in April 2026, where basically they are calling it the narrative responsibility. It's a way to like rebuild the real story and try to understand what was behind the failure. I mean, we have an algorithm there, we have a machine making decisions, but of course we have people who were involved in building that solution. So at any point that we have something big happen, a problem, a mistake. I mean, in this case, in the example, it was something terrible, right? A person is dead after that. But every day we have something that is failing in production. And now more and more we see that those failures are connecting machine decisions, AI decisions with humans who were responsible for building that solution. And of course, we have the classic way of looking to that and we try to reflect what was the root cause behind that. You ask a few questions and you are able to come back to a point where you understand who was specifically the person or the process responsible for the mistake that happened. But we know that removing one person or removing one specific process, just solving that part, it can fix the root cause of an issue. When is one of those classic ones? Easy to trace who was responsible for that. But what to do when the root cause is not easily traceable and it's not possible just to define one single cause or one single source for the issue that happened. In a very similar way, we had a case with an Amazon delivery drone in 2022. It happened in Oregon, USA as well, where a delivery drone just crashed in middle of the air and it crashed in the middle of the city. And the whole team at Amazon, they were basically responsible for that. And the responsibility is spread over the coders, the software developers, it's spread over the leadership team, everyone who were responsible to put that to run over a city. It could be much more catastrophic. So yeah, the whole team was responsible, not like a one single person was pointed as the only one responsible for that. And Amazon tried to bring that for their lessons learned as a company. The problem, and the study is trying to highlight that, is how we are going to build some boundaries behind those decisions to not only make sure that we know how to treat the problem when it occurs, but also we are able to incorporate that, to bring that as the way we actually build our things. It was the same with security in software development. In the past, we tried to look for data security, data privacy, all those things as something that you solve, right? You have problems, you solve the issue, great. We cannot afford that anymore in the kind of world, digital world that we are living right now. So basically, we have security and data privacy, all those things inherited in building a good feature, in building a good product. We should think on that from the whole chain perspective. When we are building requirements, we are building the architecture, everything is being thinking in a way that the product, the final product, is going to incorporate security practice or good practice in this case to make sure that the product is secure and the data for the customers, the data for everyone involved is also being secured. And the same goes now with algorithms and AI being involved in decision making. Because in your company right now, maybe you don't have a big product going to the market that is going to maybe be able to kill someone it makes a mistake, but you have a software, you have a product, you have a process that have this AI bot or an agent that is taking decisions right now. And the question is, who is or how is your company organizing the boundaries, the limits, and the control, the guidelines for those kind of situations? You have an AI involved in the process of taking decisions, or your decision making is being influenced by AI. How you make sure that you still have a human in the loop that is being responsible for those decisions? Because someone was responsible for building that solution, for connecting that automation, or to build this agent who is taking decisions, right, for your company, for your business in some part of the process. And you also have people who are, I hope, responsible to validate the outputs or the outcomes from this AI part of your system. And the question is how your company is treating responsibility in this case. Because someone, a specific person, should be able and responsible for explaining, to fix even the issues, or at least to be the one who can speak for the decision when it comes to a problem in the end of the line. When you have a customer complaint or something coming to your company, you need to have someone who can understand what happened and connect the dots. If you start to moving AI as a part of your decision making process in your company without thinking about those borders or those boundaries, you can be building a big risk for your company just because you didn't exercise the right thinking from the beginning. So the study is making clear that it's not about removing the legal responsibility for something that happened with a customer or something in the market. It's something happened, someone should be responsible, and in this case, the company from a legal perspective should be taking the right actions for that. But the reflection here, back to the whole discussion, it's how your company is treating those discussions right now, because this is the moment that we are building where those discussions should happen. If your company is taking serious this moment we are living, where we have algorithms and AI being part of the decision making, I hope that you as a manager, as a leader, can start influencing more on the discussion on how those boundaries are going to be decided and who is responsible for which part of the decisions that are taken from your company. So the final reflection for you as a leader, as a manager in a company is how you can influence for this discussion start to happen right now. You have algorithms, you have the AI agent, you have all those things being part of your system right now. How are you talking about responsibility and ownership for these things when problems start to arrive? And finally, the big lesson here is when something is failing near to you, in your team, in your company, are you just trying to find someone who you're going to blame for that? Or are you really going to take the responsibility and ownership to bring the lessons learned from that and discuss and bring internally a way that we are going to prevent that will never happen again in your company? The responsibility is still yours. Don't blame the AI, don't blame the tool, because people working to build that are also responsible. But you need to find a way that your company can internalize this knowledge. And as I said, bring that in a way that is part of what you're building and not just something that you get concerned when a problem arrives. Great. And with that, we are in the end of this episode. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.